For the past month, I have been experimenting with creating a little artist pocketbook that you can fill up with beautiful things that you find to be artistic. I include pieces that mean something to me, phrases, poems, and quotes. It can be your own artwork, your writing, photographs, pressed flowers. There's no theme or rhyme or reason to a little artist pocketbook. It's just what you find to be beautiful, what you describe as art. And essentially your canvas is the journal that houses all of the little art pieces. And you fill it up with your papers, your imagery, and your words, even your personal artwork. It turns into probably one of the most treasured journals that you can create. This little book really made me fall in love with this style of creating a journal. This one is of course my personal one, but I'm going to be using this one as inspiration for the ones that I want to create and offer them to those of you who like this style and would like to have your own version of a little artist pocketbook. I'm still in the process of working on those, but I will definitely share sneak peeks through Instagram and my Facebook group, and then of course film the full flip-throughs when they are finished. So the first thing I did is I constructed the journal from scratch. There's 3 bases. There's the front cover and then the second front cover and the back cover, and it's all connected using my no-sew binding method. I used the same process that I shared with you in my previous tutorial. The papers that I used for the cover as well as the inside pages and the ephemera pieces I used from my newest kits. On the cover, the focal point is this really pretty flower. It's like a little cluster of roses from some old wallpaper. This is included in among the roses. I just loved the color combination, and it gave me the idea to pair pinks with greens, some brown tones. As you can see, the color palette throughout, there's little hints of teal, of pink, even some lilacs, and of course browns. Little symbolism in roses, all of the ruffles peeking through. And then I've also attached a little millinery flower on the cover. So I created this closure by just stitching some sari silk onto a piece of fabric. I have a ton of vintage buttons and I'm finally getting to use them. So a little vintage button here, a crystal button here, these little vintage buttons that are just so much fun to play with, some beads, and then probably my favorite bead ever. It's a heart glass bead, and I thought it was the cutest thing to include on the cover of my journal. The tiniest little seed beads that I threaded through some twine. This took me so long to do, but I think the effect is really beautiful. And then I just attached some Victorian lace, and I love using mesh lace because you can still see part of the background. And if you flip the lace up, it says an awakening. And that starts the story of my journal. What are we going to find within the pages? What kind of awakening? Okay, so opening up the first part of the front cover. So I will share my story as we go throughout the pages so that all of the imagery kind of makes sense. So on the first part of the cover, you'll notice that it starts with a little sentiment. Show the world. And in the pocket is the tag that she found herself. This tag was just made out of my scraps from digitals and then some old music paper. And I've really been enjoying creating little sentiments that connect. Doing that kind of transition for me tells the story of the book in a very beautiful way. I created like a little faux file folder using an old postcard. I layered up a butterfly tag that I made as if a little butterfly landed, and it's a 3D butterfly that you can remove. And it's just so beautiful. It has little gold edging on the wings. Underneath it is my butterfly notes. This is actually one of the newest kits in this shop. I've been using a lot of pieces from different kits. So here's our little sample card of our butterfly and the notes that a butterfly would leave. My dear little butterfly, you found your way despite all you've been through. You've broken your cocoon to become your truest form. You've grown like a butterfly. Because of you, I've seen how butterflies bloom. And I think that a lot of us can identify within that poem. And no matter where you are in life, you can always break free from your little cocoon and fly as free as you'd like as a butterfly. So that was just the introduction to the cover. This is the first page to the inside of the journal. So here's a little tuck spot that I made. Similar to the front cover, these two connect. So she found herself to blossom again. And so for me, what that means is going through something difficult, going through something hard, where you thought you were never going to bloom again as you once were. Just like flowers bloom every year, we will bloom every year as well, no matter what we're going through. And then here is just a little dried piece of lavender from my dad's garden. I always like keeping parts of his flowers within my journals. And then this is just a French book page. And I just played around and painted these little flowers. So this page here, I love the color palette, just a little text spot that I created. This is the original paper that I scanned. As you can see, it's super distressed. And I included it in the Evermore kit. Evermore, to me, what it represents is no matter how many years go by, your beauty, your personality, your kindness, everything that represents you will continue to bloom gracefully over the years. So my little Evermore page here using the papers. In the tuck spot, I pull up my little butterfly tag and I just stitched the butterflies so that they can be used as a place for the tag to permanently kind of lay on that pocket, just like a butterfly would lay on a flower. It's kind of what I was trying to do. I just wanted to use this pretty paper and I cut around it to make it look a little bit more distressed. I have some beautiful glass beads that I wanted to attach to the ruffles, and so I have hand sewn some, but this one I just attached on a little pin. On the second page, I've left it blank so that I can do my journaling. So going through the book, there's some pages that have ephemera and then some pages that are more blank. And that's what I love doing in my books, giving you the space to actually journal and write about what these ephemera pieces make you feel. Another little surprise page, so it says be gentle with, and on this paper clip that my mom actually made for me is a vintage letter. So of course there's a little butterfly that found its way into our book. I used this vintage letter, and this is not the original, this is just the digital version. I created a little text spot where you can include something there using this edge of an envelope, a little wax seal, because I just thought it looked so beautiful, the colors. I folded the letter up just like the vintage one was folded. So when you open it up, be gentle with the way you're learning to hold your own heart. And when you open up the letter, there's a little surprise. So I printed the envelope double-sided with this ledger, and then this is actually a piece from my seed packets. I just cut it up, and so the sentiment continues. You only have one heart to hold and to give, which is that heart to give to yourself. And then this little tiny envelope to Nazy is my missing petal. On the days when I need a little bit extra help to complete my petal that makes me who I am. And this is what I mean by playing around with your ephemera pieces. It has so much symbolism because you make it meaningful. I wanted to make it interactive for myself on the days when I need that little pick-me-up. If I'm having a sad day or a rough day and I open my journal, that's the whole purpose of this journal, is to open the pages and feel like a part of myself when reading this book. And when I get to this page, I'm going to feel complete. I'm going to feel better. I'm going to feel like my little missing petal finally was found. Play around with your journal and don't take it too seriously. It's the most fun when you make ephemera that actually is interactive and gives you a smile at the end of the day. When I need to find the little petal that has fallen off my flower. On this page, I love this vintage ledger. This is from Layla's kit. I did do some journaling here and I wanted to make it interactive. So I made this floating pocket out of a scrap piece of paper and I just cut out a little heart. I wrote love notes on it because it has to do with love. And then here in the little heart, I tucked in a little pressed flower from my dad's garden. My dad's favorite color is purple. So for me, purple flowers will always remind me of my dad. And then when you move the paper clip, this actually turns to reveal something that I stamped. And then this actually flips out. I wrote about a beautiful sentiment that a lady said in a video, and I just journaled about how that made me feel, about looking in the mirror and saying, I really love you. You really love the person that you're looking at. Sometimes I think we tend to love a lot those who are around us, but we forget to love ourselves the same way. And that to me is something that I have been working on. And then on this page, I love the colors here. I really like the little art that I did on this page. I used an image from one of my kits to create a little text spot. And when you remove the ephemera, I journaled, listen to the music, which has to do with this photo. So I rarely put photos of myself in my journals, which I'm getting better at now. And the moment that you start breaking that little barrier and start including yourself in your journals, you end up feeling this close connection to your journal and appreciating, the photos that you take of yourself over the years. This is actually a photo of me where I put little butterflies in my hair and I was going to a music concert. This was definitely out of my comfort zone, but I felt so happy to do something that I really wanted to do and not feel shy about it. Feel very happy to be, wearing my little butterflies in my hair because it reminded me of when I was little and I would put little clips in my hair and not be embarrassed about it. And then here is a little tag that I made using another pressed flower from my dad, and I made a little paperclip tag that just tucks right in there. And then on this page I did some of my art. It doesn't have to be complicated at all, and I just journaled about the journey of love for myself and also finding love. And a little personal, but like I said, this is my most personal journal. I was in a relationship for about 10 years and I actually ended up getting my heart broken, which I've never talked about this because it's very personal, obviously. And I'm someone who I don't want to talk about sad things online, but that's the reality of life, is that sometimes you go through life and things just don't work out how you thought they were going to. For a moment, I did think that I was never going to find love again. Love is something that I find so beautiful. It's a beautiful part about life. And I do believe that what happened was for a specific reason. I'm much happier now than I was before, because now I not only love myself, I ended up finding my sweetheart. We all have a different journey, and sometimes things have to happen so that our little path ends up where we need to be. So that was what this page and this little spread was all about. So then on this page is a little pocket that says she listens to flowers, continuing the theme of butterflies and being free with your wings. Gorgeous image that says she danced as free as a fairy. I took the image of this beautiful lady, and out of mica, I hope you can see that, out of some mica that I had, which is basically like plastic, but it kind of shatters. I don't know how to explain it. But it looks like wings, essentially, like little fairy wings, and I just doodled around them. And then I did my journaling in white pen, and then I glued on some pixie dust, some gold glitter on the edge that the fairy would leave. And then on these pages, I just did some painting as a background page, so then I could go and do my journaling. And then I just included make her life into a work of art, leaving some spaces blank for me to include my own art inspired by this image. And then here I included some of my favorite sari trim that's beaded. It just inspires me so much, and I think these colors, the vintage velvet, the fairy image, the gold, and the trim is just so beautiful. On this page, another page about love, some love notes. So this is a little flip out, and I just distressed it, and when you open this up, here's a little snapshot that I found that had a little heart cut out in the center, and very symbolic. She was probably in love with herself, in love with someone. That's the beauty to everybody's story. We all have a different story as to how love came into our lives. And then here is a playing card that says 1111. It's actually a printable. This is from Evermore because the symbolism that 1111 represents. And this is also kind of personal, but since I started loving myself and going through the journey, knowing that certain things happen for a reason, I have started seeing 1111 everywhere. And I never do it on purpose. I just check my phone because I got a message or I want to see something, and it always ends up being this time in the morning and at night. And I just thought that that was a quirky little coincidence, but I just wanted to include that there and do some journaling about what that means to me. I just attached this little part of an envelope that I distressed and I folded up to make a tuck spot. And with my little washi, I just attached this image that I found, and it says, "My heart is my home." And where I feel the most loved is at home, by far, with my family and with my loved ones. That's when I really feel like my heart is in the right place. So I love what that picture represents. Here I just attached a little rose, millinery rose, in between the papers as a little peekaboo surprise. On the back of the envelope, a sample of some lace of a rose, so I thought that that went fitting. A little rose lace, rose millinery, and then a rose image. And then on this page, I just distressed it, and I included this tag that I loved creating. So simple, but I think very effective. This is from one of my kits as well, and then all I did is I attached a little mesh ruffle on the bottom. I used one of my dies. I included some dried flowers, which I thought was so romantic and beautiful because of the image. The lady is picking up flowers. It reminds me of like a still image from a film. It's very inspiring. And I love how this kind of looks like the fence. So she's in her garden and she's picking up her flowers, and she saved some of the flowers and pressed them. Just stuff like this is what makes making journals and ephemera so much fun. On this page, Moments of Peace, Snapshots of Life. I ended up stitching another little heart glass bead on the ruffle. I just love those little details. Just everything adds so much interest. So on the paper clip, it all started with this vintage Polaroid. I found a stack of vintage Polaroids that somebody took at an antique shop. And I was going through them, and I think they were maybe Polaroids of them selling their home, because it was all photographs and snapshots of furniture, frames, and like little wonky things. And I loved it so much for art. So this one is a frame, a brown frame with some roses, which is why I added the little ruffle, the brown ruffle. I thought it matched perfectly to the color of the frame. I just think it's fun playing a little puzzle like that, matching your photos with your fabrics. And I just thought that this was like a serendipity kind of a moment, because I feel like this Polaroid was meant to be in my journal, even though it belonged to somebody else. That's why I put snapshots of life. So here's my vintage Polaroid that I found, and I just attached a piece of a dried rose, the leaf, continuing the theme of photos and snapshots. I created another little tag using my pressed flowers and some sentiments. So I just put, "She desired to live a life of poetry." And then this is a little floating pocket that I made. You can see there, with this sweet little photo of this girl in like a rose bush. Such a darling little photo. The little girl right there. Look at how giant the rose bush is. And I love that you can see the fence and her sweet little outfit. It's just so precious. So even though it's not me in the photo, it's not a personal photo, I just thought it was so nice to include two photos from the past. On this one, a very simple page, a magazine image of a teacup on top of books, because it's two things that I absolutely love. I love drinking tea. I drink like 4 to 5 cups of tea a day. And then I love reading books. And how books looked all piled up. And then my sweetheart and I, we love books. So we have this gorgeous bookshelf filled with his side of books and then my side. And it's just so inspiring to me seeing all the books. And I just wrote "Poetry of You," as these are parts of my poem and what represents me. And then here is an actual little tea tag. I'm literally drinking tea right now. This is some green tea. So I'm drinking tea pretty much all the time. So I included one of them that says, "Today I'm grateful for." And I just distressed it to try to make it look a little bit vintage and older, and I just stapled that on. Finally, we've reached the back. I love how all of the elements look layered up and all of these beautiful ruffles. On the paper clip, behind the ephemera, a page from a book that talks about sisters. And it just says, "A big sister thinks she can act like a third parent." And then a little sister wants to tag along wherever you go. And so I am the big sister in our family, and I have a little sister, and we're best friends. So I can't relate to like the negative parts of this. I just think it was really sweet that I came across this page organically and just journaling about sisterhood. And so I do agree with this. I do think sometimes I'm the third parent since I'm the older one. And so I wanted to tie in some ephemera that I thought represented sisterhood. So this is a vintage image of these two sisters, and this is from the Butterfly Notes kit. And I turned their photo into a little floating pocket. I've seen my sweet friend Dodie from Lace Girl on Instagram. I'm sure you all know and are familiar with her work. I love how she always makes like the perfect crepe paper or like tissue ruffles. It's actually a little difficult as my tissue paper kept tearing, but I just loved the look of this floating pocket. On this little scrap paper on the inside, I included a photo of my sister and I. So that is in the envelope there. And then at the end of the book, I wanted to add something here, but I still don't know what. And I just included a butterfly from the kit, and I just stamped, "I found my wings." So you can see throughout the whole book, it really is a journey because I go through many things that mean a lot to me, that symbolize parts of my life, how I feel, what makes me happy, what inspires me, what makes my heart feel like home, things that I love, elements of who I am, and that all ends the journey of me finding my wings. That's why the symbolism of butterfly is represented so much in this book. And there's even a butterfly on the back cover. This is just an example of what my little art books will be made of. I think flowers and butterflies and fairies is something that we all loved when we were little girls. And I think we never stop loving that, no matter the age. You know, butterflies, fairies, and flowers, I think will always make us happy and will inspire us using those beautiful images and what they represent to us. So I hope that this was inspiring. Like I said, this was a very personal journal to share. And I hope I didn't bore you too much with my thoughts and the way that I journal. But this is just an idea for if you want to document who you are, your story, your journey in a little book and fill it with what you view as art. I definitely encourage you. It is the most fun when you're creating something like this for yourself or as a gift for someone. If you create this for someone, imagine handing someone that you love a book like this, a little pocket art book that they can hold and feel safe when they're going through the pages. I hope now the kits also make more sense. Evermore, Among the Roses, Layla, and also Butterfly Notes. Those 4 kits mean so much to me. I wanted to design them so that they were easy for you to use to embellish your own story or the story of those who you love. So this is the first of my little series of art books. I am making one for each of the kits, and those will definitely be available for those of you who are interested. I feel really happy that I shared a journal that was very meaningful for me, a bit vulnerable to tell a little bit about my story. But that's what journals are meant to do. They're meant to keep our thoughts and things that mean a lot to us safe in a little book. I will link below the tutorial that I shared with you for the binding method, as well as the newest kits that are in the shop that I used. I will be back to share with you the other flip throughs for the journals that I am currently making. Sending so much peace and so much love your way, and I hope that now you want to create your own little art book for yourself or for someone special.